Welcome to Magitoots. In this tutorial we will have a look at 5 different ways to make arrows in Adobe Illustrator. Let's dive right into it. Here's the first great way to make arrows in Adobe Illustrator. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to open up a new Illustrator file. You can do that by simply clicking on File and then on New. After that, make sure to choose the dimensions and then simply click on Create. As I have already done that, I will simply click here on Close. Once you have your blank project in front of you, the first thing we need to do is to actually create some shape. Afterwards, we're going to use the stroke panel to finalize our arrow. That said, you now have to select here the line segment tool, or you can also use the arc tool. But the easiest way to get an arrow done very quickly would be by simply selecting the line segment tool. So that will be our choice for now. Once you have done that in the project, simply left click on your mouse and then drag to the right, for example, to draw a straight line. Now, while our line is still selected, head over to Window and then click on Stroke. In the top right corner of our stroke window, make sure to click on the hamburger menu and then select Show Options. Now to finalize our arrow, we simply need to choose an arrowhead here from this drop-down menu. I kinda like arrow 3, so I'll simply click on that to finalize our arrow. And as you can see, our straight line now turned into a perfect arrow. You can now obviously still adjust your arrow. For example, we can also still rotate our arrow by simply making sure it is selected. And then we would go to the end here. We would go to either the left end of the arrow or the right end of the arrow until we see this little double arrow symbol. And then by simply left clicking on your mouse and then by dragging, you can adjust the rotation of your arrow. And that's it, guys. This was the first great method that you can use to create arrows in Illustrator. Now let's talk about method number 2 to create arrows in Adobe Illustrator. From the top bar menu in Illustrator, simply click on Window, then scroll down until you see Symbols. Click on Symbols, and the Symbols window will become apparent. In the top right corner of the Symbols screen, select the hamburger menu, then scroll down to Open Symbol Library. And now from the drop-down menu, simply select Arrows. The Arrows window will then pop up, and now all that is left for you to do is to choose the kinds of arrows that you like, and they will immediately be added to our Symbols window here. So for instance, I would select this one here, and maybe I like that one here as well, and maybe also this colorful arrow here. And as you can see, these 3 arrows have now been added to our Symbols window. Now to make use of these arrows, the last thing we need to do is to simply drag and drop these arrows into our project. So I will just take that one here, I will drag it into our project, maybe this one as well, and our colorful one. And now, as we have those arrows in our project, we can obviously make them bigger. And we can also rotate them if needed by simply hovering here over one of the edges of these arrows. And once you see that double arrow, you can simply left click and drag on your mouse to actually change the rotation. When changing the size of these arrows, always make sure to press down and hold Shift at the same time on your keyboard so that the proportions will not be changed. If you don't hold Shift, then this is what happens. And that's it. That was method number 2 to easily create arrows in Adobe Illustrator. Now let us have a look at the third way to create awesome arrows in Illustrator. This time we are going to make use of the Glyphs window to create these arrows. To do so, simply choose Window from the top bar menu, then scroll down until you see Type, and then choose Glyphs. And we now have the Glyphs pop-up window in front of us. And as you can see here, we have some lovely arrows that we can get into our Illustrator project. At this point, it is important to note that the glyphs that are displayed here depend on the actual font that you have chosen in Illustrator. In our case, this is Wingdings here because I knew that Wingdings actually has some arrows to choose from. But this is not the case for every font. That said, to change the font, simply click here on this down arrow and then try and find some fonts that have some nice arrows to choose from. In some cases, no arrows will be available, and if that is the case, simply make sure to select another font that actually has some arrows to choose from. Once you have decided on a font, to get these arrows inside of your project, first of all, select the Type tool here from the left sidebar, then drag a text box here in your project. Click on backslash to delete those symbols. And now to get your arrow inside of that text box, simply choose the desired arrow by double clicking it here in the Glyphs window. And after that, these arrows will appear immediately in your text box. And that was method number 3 to create awesome arrows in Illustrator. Believe it or not, but there are even more ways to create awesome looking arrows in Illustrator. And that is why we will now have a look at method number 4 to get some awesome looking arrows inside of your Illustrator project. Once again, we will choose Window from the top toolbar, and this time we head over to Brushes, click on it, and then we click on the hamburger menu on the top right corner of the Brushes window and choose Open Brush Library. And then Arrows, and then choose one of these 3, Arrow Special or Arrow Standard or Pattern Arrows. In this case, I will simply choose Arrow Standard. Once the Arrow Standard pop-up appeared, to get one of these lovely arrow styles inside of your project, we will first have to click on one of these styles here. For instance, this one here. And once that is done, make sure that the paintbrush tool is selected here from the left sidebar. That is very important. And after that, we can actually draw this cool arrow by simply left-clicking on our mouse and by dragging. Once we let go, our arrow will be completed. Pretty cool, right? Now, last but not least, our last method to create awesome looking arrows in Illustrator is by using the rectangle tool followed by the polygon tool. To do so, simply switch over here to the rectangle tool, draw a rectangle, then right click on where the rectangle tool is and choose the polygon tool. Then click on your canvas. And now it's very important that you change the sides here to 3, because this will enable us to make a triangle with the polygon tool. Then click on OK, and as you will see, we now have a triangle in our project. And then by hovering over one of the edges here of the triangle, and then by dragging on your mouse, you can adjust that to 270 degrees, for example. Then switch back here to the selection tool, then drag and drop it to the desired location. And like this, we have found yet another great way to make cool arrows in Illustrator. And that's it, guys. Those were the 5 best methods to create awesome looking arrows in Illustrator for all your project needs. I hope you did indeed enjoy this video. If you did, I would be most grateful if you could subscribe to my channel, and in that case, please don't forget to hit the notification bell. Have a great day, guys. Bye.